Welcome back, everyone. So I wanted to apologize for the long time it's taking to put out the next video. I'm currently working on an audio setup, also working on getting used to the GoPro 8. I already had one trip where, kind of went smoothly, but I had it on super wide, so the corners are distorted. And then I had another trip where the setting was stuck on narrow, and pretty much everything I'm just going to be using for Instagram from that day, unless I somehow feel like I can, put something out that isn't horrendous. What I want to do is I wanted to test out the new audio setup right now with the short 1 to 2 minute video about Ikejime, which is the most humane way to deal with fish, but it's also the best way to ensure that you have the highest quality fish. So as you can see here, you can follow a line that goes close to the gill plate that goes towards the head, and you can actually insert your blade there. That makes it really easy to identify, and then right after the fish is dispatched, you can go ahead. You don't have to cut the gills, but you can go along the gill plate. You can see the area I am talking about right here, and you can see how I run my blade on the inside right there. You can cut the gills if you'd like, but it's not completely necessary. By bleeding your fish and by dispatching it quickly, you kill all the nerve endings that would in a sense begin the decaying process much quicker. But by bleeding it, you also clean out a lot of the meat. So in this instance, I wanted to show how quickly I usually dispatch the fish. Not all the times you're able to do it, immediately, but as soon as you have a knife in your hand or can grab it, go ahead and do it. See, I follow the line, I know where it is, and I go right into the brain. And immediately the fish is dead, and I can go and just run my blade how you saw in the last portion. And you can see the blood coming out, and that makes the meat incredibly clean. Stay till the end and you'll see another technique I have which reduces your waste and also attracts more fish. Ikejime is going to be one of the preferred ways you'd want to dispatch a fish while spearfishing. It's something you can work about getting your habit on. I showed 2 ways to do it, one with a knife and one if you forgot your weight belt like I did, and you can use your spear tip and do the exact same thing. So as you get better at spearfishing, you can stone fish with spine shots or brain shots, but this one was an eye shot, which doesn't usually stone the fish. So what I did is I found the parallel line and I took the tip of my spear and I pushed it right in just like you would with your knife. You could then use your hand and pull out the gills, which works perfectly fine. Now I wanted to include this portion right here to talk about sharks. I am mainly a shore diver, meaning any fish I bleed, gut, scale, or anything are in the water with me. It's more likely that I encounter sharks and have to deal with them for a prolonged period of time, versus if I had a boat and I could just toss them in the cooler. Everything you've seen here can be repeated above water and in a cooler as well. That means that you can avoid attracting sharks in, Florida, down in the Keys, you can get bull sharks coming in pretty hot. I've had black tips, hammerheads, and even a feisty nurse shark come after me. But you're putting all this content into the water and it will attract, these sharks. So just keep that in mind when you do this. If you have a shark-proof bag, then you can do that in there. If you have a enclosed cooler, then you can go ahead and do that there as well. I don't recommend just pulling out the gills or going straight for the gills, on a fish, because being a sparrow in a general sense is, we're sustainable, but we also respect what we catch. And putting the animal out of its misery is one of the most respectful things you can do to its life, especially if you're going to be eating it later on. So getting in the habit of dispatching it quickly, then going immediately to bleed it. There's 2 ways you can actually do this. One is through the gill and one is through the tail. Most people that do the tail are those who really want to bleed it completely. For some fish like barracuda, I actually would do both, which encourages a lot cleaner meat, less smell, and it's just in general you can get a lot of gunk out that you would have trouble with. Now, especially if you're going to be getting into dry aging, which I have a 2 to 3 part video coming out next about dry aging, this is crucial to your success with that. It might still work without that, but really you only want to dry age with the highest quality fish you can have, and doing Ikejime provides that high quality fish that's okay for dry aging, that's okay for sushi, it's okay for any other use. Now this is all depending on your area and the likelihood for sharks, but by this point you had already most likely bled the fish completely, so gutting it and doing this whole entire process won't attract any sharks any more than regular chum would. So I'll go ahead and I'll rip out the gills and I'll toss that down. I will then gut the fish and let those contents sink down and maybe bring in snappers or any other species. You can then use the scales of the fish, and they look like flashers and tiny little fish on the way down, and this can create a lot more commotion. Now the beauty of this is that you keep all of the nutrients for everything that you wouldn't usually eat back in the environment, so it feeds those fish in your spot that you'd come back to, rather than throwing everything away in your trash where all it's going to do is sit in a landfill.